In basketball, it is more fun to watch someone put the ball inside the hoop rather than seeing a player playing defense. The reason behind this is that there are plenty of creative ways to score a basket, and piling up points is simply entertaining from a spectator's point of view. Throughout the years, the league has been graced with the presence of the finest scorers to ever set foot in the hardwood. From the likes of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, to Tracy McGrady, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, and MJ. The list of capable players who can demolish the opposition by putting up one-man offensive onslaughts just keeps getting longer. In this modern era of the NBA, where defenses have become less restrictive and floor spacing gave rise to a great deal of offensive freedom, some superstars of today have acclimatized themselves to the current conditions and used it to their advantage. The two obvious outliers in this category are Luka Doncic and James Harden. Being at the forefront of the respective offensive sets, Dončić and Harden act like well-experienced surgeons that can easily dissect defenses by simply imposing their wills. Both players have also redefined and revolutionized the point guard position because of their hybrid tendencies of scoring and playmaking. In this episode, we will break down Luka Doncic and James Harden's offensive repertoires and analyze why they seem to be virtually unstoppable and tough to defend on most occasions. Luka Doncic. Decision-making and basketball IQ. At first glance, you would not have thought that Luka Doncic is the Mavericks' most prized possession and franchise's top dog due to his not-so-NBA physique. Let's face it, he parades a chunky body figure, he's slow on his feet, and he's not as insanely athletic in comparison to the standards of the NBA. But what he lacks in athleticism, he makes up in supreme basketball intelligence. Since his early days, Luka has already faced tougher and much older competition. Given the fact that he can't go toe-to-toe with them using his physical gifts, Luka would often rely on his wit to manipulate and exploit the weaknesses of the defense. He was able to bring his bag of tricks upon his arrival into the big leagues. As a towering point guard of 6'7", Dončić is like a watchtower over shorter guards that can easily spot open teammates with extreme ease. The eagle-eyed Slovenian has an amazing court vision and knows how to react in tight defensive situations. As he turns the corner in pick-and-roll actions, Dončić uses his wide body to keep defenders at bay. When the help decides to show up, he can deliver a pinpoint lob pass to the roll man. If the opposing big man covers the roll guys, Luka can simply create scoring opportunities for himself. If both of these offensive avenues are closed, he can easily insert himself in the lane, and when the defense collapses, he can throw a skip pass to the corner for a wide-open three, or a no-look pass to an off-ball cutter. How about double-teaming him? Well, he can react way before the play unfolds, and he's so good in creating different passing angles. Letting your guard down 5 feet beyond the arc is also not a plausible idea, as he can deliver alley-oop passes because he's just too goddamn tall. He has averaged 6 assists in his first season, and then upped his ball distribution stat to 8.7 in his second year. Pretty scary given his young age. Offensive arsenal. While many consider his knack in making his teammates better as his primary weapon, Luka also possesses an underrated offensive game. Sure, you may say that he moves really slow most of the time, but when you look closely at the tapes, Dončić is deceptively quick and knows when to use his afterburners. Coming from a triple threat position, Luka reads what the defense brings and utilizes it to his own advantage. If you're trying to make him go in a certain direction, he would always find a way to his desired destination, and you can't do anything about it. He's a calculative and methodical player that knows how to pick his spot and not force tough situations. He's also incredibly shifty and can stop on a dime to look for a trailer, lane cutter, or open shooter. If the passing lanes are clogged, Luka can hit you with his soft floaters or a crafty off-balance jumper. He's just that good. What separates Luka from other big point guards is his ability to consistently hit long-range bombs. Yep, I'm talking to you, Mr. Simmons. Is often considered as a tricky proposition for the opposing matchup. If you're going to go under the screen, he'll definitely kill you with his three-pointers. Luka has good shooting mechanics and is perfectly balanced when hoisting shots. Even though the leaping ability is not there for Luka, he can still finish around the rim with pure finesse and grace while his wide body protects him from shot blockers. With the shot clock winding down, you'll always have the option to give Luka the ball to salvage your team's possession. Though Luka is known to frequently involve his teammates in their offensive sets, the Slovenian wonderkind proves that he can play the American style of iso ball well. It's pretty rare to see European players with good handles, but Luka is one of those types of players who has a great command in terms of ball handling. Knowing that he's not that quick, Luka would often engage in a certain direction and suddenly switch to another way using drag steps and pullback dribbles. This allows his defenders to be frozen for a fraction of a second, and that tiny separation is all that Luka needs to pull the trigger. And of course, who can forget about his patented step backs that put defenders back on their heels? Luka has averaged 21.2 points as a freshman and increased his scoring production to 28.7, an outing in his All-Star year, finishing 6th in the list of top scorers in the league. He also managed to put up a true shooting percentage of 56.4% as a 2-year pro, silencing his hard-hitting critics and proving that he's more than just a pretty face. The rudimentary offensive approach of Dončić deemed to be the prevailing factor on why Luka is so hard to stop. It's so painstakingly basic that defenders might tend to overlook the little details that Luka has been paying attention to all along. He has been a student of the game for so long, and the time has come for him to take them to school and teach them a thing or two about basic basketball. In a nutshell, Luka's game can be summed up in 3 words: simple yet efficient. James Harden, playmaking ability. The majority of NBA players and some basketball pundits, like Stephen A., already proclaimed Harden as a virtually unstoppable player. Harden's transformation into a full-fledged offensive juggernaut happened when Mike D'Antoni took the reins as Rockets head coach. D'Antoni is the godfather of a 7 seconds or less offensive system back in Phoenix, and he assigned Stephen Nash to orchestrate the chaotic blitzkrieg. D'Antoni wants to replicate the success he had back in Phoenix and chose Harden to become the Nash in Houston. Harden has always been a natural shooting guard throughout his career, but his transaction into the point guard role only unravels his playmaking potential. Initially known as a scoring virtuoso, the addition of his newly found playmaking ability on his disposal made him an instant two-way threat. Harden's assists average grew steadily under D'Antoni's leadership, highlighted by the 11.2 assists per game in the 2016-17 season. Just like Dončić, Harden was able to dictate the pace of the game as a 6'5" point guard. His role transition was a head-scratcher for the opposing teams, as it presents a multitude of defensive dilemmas and lineup mismatches. The Rockets are one of the pioneers of the pace and space philosophy, and this only made Harden thrive in such an environment and virtually unguardable. The Rockets' offense priority revolves around taking a boatload of threes and layups. With Harden steering the ship, he would often use his scoring prowess to get the attention of his defenders. When the defense collapses, he can always find the open corner man, who's already locked and loaded for an uncontested 3. His inside passes can thread the needle and find the seams of the defense whenever he found himself trapped in a pick-and-roll scenario. Offensive arsenal. Just by typing the words Harden and unguardable in Google, you'll be able to conclude that the Beard is now considered to be the most prolific scorer in modern NBA history. He's currently leading the league in scoring with 34.4 points per game, and last year, he even had a higher output with an insane 36.1 an outing. As an ISO-heavy player, Harden has a variety of offensive maneuvers hidden in his sleeves. First and foremost, Harden has exceptional handles. His ball handling skills are so smooth and polished that Wesley Johnson even slipped on it. His offensive routine usually starts with a bunch of size-ups and hesitation dribbles. Once the defender reacts in his preferred position, Harden will gravitate towards the opposite direction, which causes a lot of broken ankles along the way. In open court scenarios, Harden's revamped version of the Eurostep serves as his primary weapon to elude rim defenders. He also got soft floaters on his back pocket for the shot-blocking giants in the paint. The NBA has had its fair share of rule breakers in the recent past. Remember how the NBA forfeited their basketball backboards in the 1990s because Shaq consistently kept shattering them? Or when Steph Curry created a real-life problem for his video game counterpart due to his crazy shooting performances? Harden is another breed of transcendent players that has managed to bend the rules into his favor. Harden can be an annoying matchup and can influence the ref's decision in calling fouls due to his superstar status. If you're trying to guard him closely off pick and rolls, he'll make you pay by reaching in. He has this uncanny ability to sell calls and draw contact, whether it's several feet away from the basket or during his forays in the shaded area. Since the 2016 season, the Beard has averaged no lower than 10 free throw attempts per game, which only proves that he's a master manipulator in manufacturing scoring opportunities. Whether it's a travel or not, James Harden's double step back has become one of the most controversial basketball moves in recent memory. Regardless, this move only made Harden a more lethal and efficient bucket getter. The separation it created allowed Harden to launch three-pointers as the oohs and ahs echoed throughout the crowd. If you try to close the gap, you'll collide with his body more often than not. And you know what that means. More free throws. There you have it. Those are just some of the reasons why Luka Doncic and James Harden are so hard to defend. Let me know in the comment section on how you can stop these two. And until next time, I'll see you on the court.